You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. Okay, so a couple of things that we're going to talk about today. It should be a doozy. Well, it's always a little bit of a doozy, isn't it? It should be an interesting one. And I'm going to start with, we're going to talk about what you need to be aware of to get some more clients, not only online, but through AI as well, simple things that you can do. So I'll give you those today. The other thing that we're going to talk about is something that comes up a lot around money and women in business, and give you some tips and tools and strategies around that. And then the last one is something I want to touch on around positive thinking and some interesting research that has come to light around that for you as well. So yeah, I was going to say buckle up. I don't even know why I was going to say that. Speaking of buckling up though, the one we call BUDDY is being so much better well behaved. So he's just actually now taken himself onto his own special chair and tucked himself in. He's had his LOLLY, which isn't really what a human one. Don't panic. It's like a little bit of a carob thing. And he's closed his eyes. So, here's hoping, right? Okay, so I don't actually remember what I told you in the last episode around getting found by clients and stuff like that. But there are two things that I want to share with you. The first one, forgive me if I already mentioned it. If I've already mentioned it, this is just going to be a quick refresher for you. If it's too short for you and you're just hearing it for the first time, listen to Saturday's episode. Okay, so the thing is, there's all this research coming out at the moment. I mentioned the research by RFs, I mentioned Google's own research, and now there's research out by HubSpot. And in case you didn't know, HubSpot is a very popular, very famous platform for CRM, marketing, all those kinds of things. Anywho, so all of the research basically is showing now that of all the traffic that's coming over to websites of experts with SEO, the quality of the traffic is very, very low. So most of the people that will visit your website generally aren't going to do anything. And this isn't a surprise. We already know this, right? If you've been listening to this show for a while, if you've ever worked with me, if you've ever done any of my courses, then you already know the numbers. And the numbers are that a conversion on a really, 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 really good website is only ever about 2%. So that means, for every 100 people that come over, 98 aren't going to do anything. And of the 2 that do take an action, they're usually going to, according to the latest data, just grab your free stuff and not do anything else. So this is different to, I guess, a few years ago when SEO was king and it was all about you've got to have all the right words in the right places on your website so that you come up on the first page. The first page of Google is, the best 10 answers to the user's question. But that's all been, I was going to say obliterated, and that's very dramatic, isn't it? It's all changed because in, halfway through 2024, Google introduced the AI summary, and the AI summary now goes and looks at your website and everybody else's website and builds a summary, interprets all of the information that we're all putting out there, puts it together in a little paragraph or two for the user. And if you're lucky and your website does a fantastic job of giving the right information, then what's going to happen is you go in the running to be one of the 3 to be referenced or cited in that AI summary. And that's where you want to be, because the research also shows now that an overwhelming percentage of people, in excess of 80% of people, just don't scroll down through that list of 10 blue links anymore. They're all just using the recommendations in that initial AI summary, and they're trusting them. So that's what's happening there. But the other thing is, that's only if somebody chooses to click because they want some more information, right? So let's say they get the question answered by the AI summary. Then what's happening is they're not going to your website at all, because they don't need to now. Question's been answered. So this is what companies like HubSpot and RFs and Google are all reporting on at the moment. And it's very interesting because it's opening up a lot of dialogue around, okay, well, what does this mean for business? I think this is very important too, because I think we've always had such a focus on the website, but now we need to be focusing on what has to change in terms of not only our website, but our whole entire marketing. Because when not only Google AI, but when any AI, could be Bing, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using, that AI doesn't only go and check your website, right? That AI goes and checks everything that you've ever posted online. So it's going and checking comments that you put in Facebook or on other people's posts. This is why you shouldn't post not nice things, right? It's checking, yes, your website, it's checking your LinkedIn, it's checking your YouTube, it's pulling everything. Okay. And so when it comes to, I guess, if you're in business, maybe you're in a private practice, for example, it means now that while it used to be such a headache for you perhaps to have to invest time learning how to optimize your website and what needs to go where and all of the things, your job just got, well, for some people, it's going to feel like 10 times bigger or maybe even 10 times more complicated. It doesn't need to be like that. I think the priority is always going to be the website, because everything drives back to that. And if that website isn't set up to get clients booking, then what's the point, right? So that website needs to be great. Great meaning you got to have your booking buttons, easy for them to get started with you. Your free things have to have the email sequences behind them. Like all of that needs to be set up. No point sending somebody over to a website where they've got to send in a bloody contact form to get an appointment. Like, you're just wasting your time and theirs, right? Don't. So beyond that, what we now need to do is we've got to have touch points. We've got to have two things: short form content and long form content. So in marketing, what's happening is the research that's coming out is telling us that in any 90-day period, because again, just something else that you know, if you've been here for a little while now, you'll know that everything happens in business in 90 days. This is why we say there's no fast results. So people who do their website and then they wait 6 weeks, like, I still haven't got a client, so I'm going to change it back. I'm like, no, don't. What was I going to say? I've just forgotten what I was going to say. Oh yeah, 90 days, right. Okay, so we need, in any 90-day period, we've got to have 11 touch points of short form content. So people need to see short form content from you 11 times. This is a cold audience, so people who've never heard of you. They need to see something of you that's called short form content, and they need to see that 11 times in 90 days. So what's that? Let's call it 12. That's one a week. Easy, right? You're probably already doing that. And short form content is anything that takes a minute or two for somebody to watch, read, digest. Okay, so it's quick. Might be a reel if you're into reels. You know, I don't recommend Instagram for, in this case, therapist practitioners, but if you're in a different business, maybe it's retail or hospitality or something like that, Instagram can absolutely be a goldmine for you when you know what you're doing. But in service-based industries, for us working with very vulnerable clients, no, doesn't work. But 11 pieces of short form content, so one a week over 12 weeks. But they also need to spend 5 to 7 hours with you. Now, there's research in psychology and sociology on rapport building, getting to know people, all this kind of stuff, and it's all consistent. Some of the research says it takes 5 hours to feel like you know someone, you can trust them, and you'll go and do something with them, and the top end is 7 hours. So that's what I'm saying, 5 to 7 hours. So think about the content that you're putting out now. Over a 12-week period, are you putting out enough content for somebody to be spending between 5 and 7 hours with you? And the answer is probably no. When you think that the head of Instagram was saying in January this year that on average, the view time of a post is 0.7 of a second, well, how many Instagram posts are you going to have to put out to hit your 7 hours? If one piece doesn't even equal 1 second, right? You're going to have to be an Instagram posting machine. And who wants to do that, right? Not me. And I'm sure not you. And here's your answer about why it's not working for you. And it's similar with your Facebook, though. Facebook can be a little bit different because Facebook is, when you use it the right way in your business, Facebook is very much the original social platform in that it's set up for you to be able to develop relationships, to be known, build a reputation, connect with people, be part of communities and different online groups and stuff like that. So there on Facebook, you're going to hit your 11 touch points more quickly, but you could also hit your 5 to 7 hours possibly more quickly as well through how you're engaging with people in conversations in groups. When you post on your Facebook business page, you get very minimal reach. I mean, it's something ridiculous like, I don't have the number in front of me, but I did mention it on a recent podcast, but it was something like for every 500 followers you have on your Facebook business page, every time you post, it's seen by like one person or two people. That's it. And the reason for that is because Facebook relies on businesses to fund the free platform for everybody who's not paying for it, right? And so it doesn't want to give you visibility free. It wants you to pay for it. So it's not going to show it to many people. It will say, hey, would you like to boost this post? Or, hey, you should turn this into an ad or something like that. It wants to monetize what you're doing, and it's telling you, listen, yeah, we'll show it to your friends and family and a few of your colleagues, but otherwise we're not going to be showing it really to anybody else. So anyway, I think have a think about your long form content. And again, this is not going to be news to those of you who've been in my world for a little while, but your long form content, I think the easiest way to knock that off is a podcast. Seriously. I mean, I'm doing mine now. I'm not in my pajamas, but I'm also not dressed for work. And I'm faceless, like it's literally just audio. It uploads to YouTube, but again, there's nothing to look at. It's just a soundtrack, right? So it's easy for me in that sense. I know my audience. I know what you're interested in. I know what you want to learn about, what you want to hear about. So I can just get on and riff. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And if I happen to go on a roll and, there's a lot that I want to share with you and talk about, I can easily smash out 7 hours of content in a 90-day period, right? For me, I try. My intention or my wish is to be able to do a Wednesday and a Saturday edition of the podcast, but I'm gentle with myself about that as well. Like, I don't always make it to 2. Sometimes I don't even make it to 1, but I know that the more content I put out, the more time somebody can spend with me. And that helps somebody who needs that support and who likes hearing what I have to say, it helps them, right? And that's what's building a relationship, even though that relationship is only one way, because I don't know who's listening unless you tell me. But the thing is that it just works. Now, I'm dabbling at the moment with the idea of YouTube because I would really like to be doing some long form YouTube content. But the thing is, I don't want to have the pressure of making sure I've got a nice background and this and that. I just want to figure out how I can share. I want to do mini tutorials, or not even mini tutorials, maybe like this, do a tutorial, have a few talking points, but maybe, I don't know, see me or not, I don't know. But I want to do something like that. So I'm exploring what that could look like at the moment. But long form content is usually going to be a podcast or YouTube. Now, which ones convert more quickly? Short form content can convert more quickly, but you do need a lot because, again, just the numbers, and you can go and research this for yourself. It's consistent. Say that for a brand new person to your world, not someone who's been in it for a while, but someone who's brand new to you, they need to have 50 touch points. That's 50. So if you're thinking, well, Brooklyn's saying I've got to have at least one a week to hit my, 11 or to hit my 12. But now she's saying people who are new to me need to have 50 touch points. Well, that's going to take me over a year before somebody will start to feel confident enough to work with me. And the answer is, yeah, exactly. Now, you can speed things up by posting more regularly, but there's a correlation between the quality of the content and getting clients. So that's also something to be mindful of. We don't want to be just churning out generic AI slop content, whether that's the image that you made in ChatGPT that looks like everybody else's ChatGPT image, or you're doing quotes, or you're, getting Chatty to write the whole thing for you and you're putting it up. If it's low quality, it's not going to work. You're wasting your time, and it's damaging your brand. It's damaging your practice. It's damaging your business reputation. We don't want that. We want to be improving. We want to be adding to it. We want people to be coming back, right? And for that reason, the content that you put out needs to be comebackable, right? People have to think, oh, there's Melissa's stuff again. Oh, I wonder what she's got today. People have to be interested and curious and wanting to see what they're going to get next. Okay. So that's why we can't be using the AI slop. I was talking to one of my beautiful clients yesterday, and she's really into AI as well. And we were sharing our processes. And I said to her, one of the things I won't use it for is my writing. I will use it we'll talk about how we use it for scheduling tasks and making our lives more efficient. And this is how we can get so much more done. But I was saying to her, I just cannot get it to write for me because I think it's so bad, the quality of the output, even with, as I was saying to you before, even when you've trained it and it's using your voice and stuff like that, you still have to edit it. And I think it can be really time consuming. It's just easier for me to go away and write it. So I use the AI differently, depending on what I'm writing for. I mean, if it's for a guide or a workbook or something like that, and the person's already in my world, then I'll definitely use AI to help me with the content creation. But when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, no, I will use the AI differently and, create my own stuff. But yeah, so don't feel like, oh, I've got to put out loads. The thing is, the quicker you get to that 50, the quicker you're going to start getting clients. If you say, well, Brooklyn said, 11 or 12 pieces in 90 days, and therefore it's going to take me, I'll get through 44 in a year, and then it's going to be, another 90 days before I hit my 50 or whatever. I think, don't think like that. Say to yourself, okay, if I want to get clients more quickly, I'm going to have to be more visible more quickly. And get through your 50, do one a day for 50 days. Make yourself a 50-day content challenge and mix it up with things that are easy for you to make, things that are short, things that are a little bit longer, things that are practical, things that are, useful for your audience, right? Because we want them to hit follow, we want them to hit like, we want them to hit subscribe, we want them to get on your list, we want them to book the call, we want them to do all of those things, but they need to see you as credible. And that's why we don't want to be relying on AI. So don't just go into ChatGPT and say, make me a 90-day content plan that's got 50 short form content pieces and, 27 hours of, because you'll just get slop and nobody's going to follow it. So know your audience and give them what they want. That was the first thing that I wanted to share with you, because it's no longer so much the focus being on your website anymore. It's making sure you've got consistency in what you're known for across platforms. So if you're a supervisor and you want to be known for, you want to be the go-to supervisor for, psychologists for EMDR, there's no point you posting about your Sunday walk gratitude, because AI is going to get confused. AI is going to be like, what? I thought she was about EMDR, right? If you're going to do that and you want to talk about your Sunday morning walk and gratitude, link it back to supervision and EMDR. Everything gets linked back to what you want to be known for. Don't just be writing random posts that don't connect back to who you are. If you're not known for something, you won't get the recommendation. Okay. So very, very important. So I just wanted to share that in case you weren't aware of it. And we talk about marketing funnels as well, right? And some people at the moment in the marketing space anyway, in the marketing communities that I'm part of, they're saying, oh, maybe funnels are dead, Now, for those of you who don't know, please, know that you do know, it's just different language. But basically, in business as women, sometimes we might just call it a pathway or we might call it a client journey. But in marketing, they just call it a funnel, right? So it just means like the steps basically that somebody goes from never having heard from you down to working with you. So some people are saying, oh, funnels are dead now because, a funnel typically is how do we get in front of people who've never heard of us? And then it's like a percentage of those people, well then how do we get them to be really interested in what we're doing? And then a percentage of those people, how do we tap into what they're really wanting and show them that we've got the thing that they really want? And then of, some of those people, percentage of those people might choose to work with us. And how do we make that really easy for them, right, to take that step? This is where your conversions coming, we spoke about a 2% conversion on your website. It's like people come over to your website and, the two that end up taking action went through all of those 4 steps, right, on the journey. Most people will go through those. I mean, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, like some people won't, but also the time it takes to go through that pathway is different for everybody. I have so much experience of that. Like even just, it was last week, somebody heard one of my podcast episodes and straight away went and tried to Google me. My website was down because, I was still refining it, which, by the way, it's up now. Yay. Winning. But it was down at the time. And then she found me on Facebook and she sent me a message on Messenger and she said that she wanted to speak with me because she was interested in working with me, And yeah, so we got on a call and then she said, when I asked her, how did you find me? She's like, oh, your podcast, I came across it the other day. I was looking for a podcast for women in business and yours popped up and yeah, I just clicked it and, you were speaking my language and I knew that, yeah, you were the one for me. So she heard one episode of my podcast and went straight into how do we work together. But there are other people that will listen to the podcast for 3 years, right? And then they're like, now's the time and I'm ready. Let's do this. And other people have been following me on Facebook for a little while, people I never knew, who've never commented on anything, who've never really engaged with anything, whose names I don't know. They will book in for a call and they will ask me how, BUDDY is, and they'll ask me what it's like living in my new place and all of this. But, and they've been there for years, right? So it can be quick, it can be short. There's no real metrics on that. I think different factors, different variables, like when we're thinking about research, we talk about, and sorry if you've ever done statistics, yeah, I'm going to just remind you of all the boring stuff you wish you forgot about. But when we're doing research, so in psychology, when you're learning to be a psychologist, or at least this is how it was when I was learning to be a psychologist, you had to do training in statistics, right? So I did 3 years of training in statistics. I feel like I have a triple major. It was psychology and sociology, but I did enough to also call it statistics, applied statistical analysis. Even though I'm not good at maths, I managed somehow. And the other training that you have to do is called research methods. And that's all about how a test's designed, how our experiments designed. You have to write lab reports, you run your own experiments, you assess and analyze other people's experiments. And all the time in psychology, for 14 years of studying at Monash University and doing a thesis, a PhD, you have to learn how to read, interpret, and analyze other people's research and pick it apart. You got to say what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what their limitations were. They also have to say, look, these were the findings of our research. The research findings were limited though because X, Y, and Z, and they make recommendations in the research to people who might want to replicate that research, right? And they might say, hey, if we're going to run it again, here's what we would do differently. We would recommend A, B, and C, right? And so when you're learning to be a psychologist, you too have to learn about the art of research, right? I mean, when you go and start counseling, you don't really need that much of it. But there are certainly some things that I can pull from, especially now that I'm leaning more into manifesting and looking at, what are the truths, what are the untruths, what are the misconceptions, what are the, what's real about it, what's not, I have to be familiar with the research. And part of that is understanding about variables. So whenever we're testing something, we're looking at the outcome, right, which is your dependent variable, and then we're looking at all the things that might influence that outcome, and they're called your independent variables, and they're what you're testing for. So when you're, what's this got to do with marketing, Brooklyn? Well, I think when it comes to things like your content, and figuring out what's going to land, what's going to work, I think you've got to have a dependent variable in mind of whatever the goal is. Is this to get more followers? Is this to get a client? Is this to get a registration? Is this to build awareness? You've got to have that. But when people are coming through your funnel, do you see how I brought myself back on tangent there? The medicine's kicked in. when people are coming through your funnel, they're experiencing different variables that impact our dependent variable of them taking an action with us. And so the variables that could be impacting them could be their motivation, might be their readiness, might be their awareness. Maybe they're still studying and they're just not at the point of needing help yet, like thinking about who goes through my funnel. It might be finances. It might be commitment. It might be self-belief, thinking that they're not worth it, they're not good enough. Self-doubt, like, can I really get a result? Like, can she really help me? Like, all that kind of stuff. So their resilience, right? Their risk tolerance. It's an investment to work with me. It's an investment for your clients to work with you. And, somebody who is more risk tolerant is probably going to work with you more quickly than somebody who's very nervous about risk when it comes to their money, right? And that could be anything that you think is a low amount to medium amount to a high amount, because that's all subjective, right? Like, even in I put up a post yesterday on my business page on Facebook and also in my community about fees, and some discussion has started, and it's been interesting because somebody was sharing about, well, I was talking about the fee being national average 150, 160. And somebody else was saying, well, geez, that feels like it's excessive to me. That feels like such a lot. And anyway, I thought that was interesting. And I was just reflecting to that person, well, yeah, I mean, perception's perception, right? It's all subjective. You might feel like it's a lot, and you might be letting that, well, I didn't say this bit, but she may be letting her own perception of what's a lot and what's excessive impact her business, right? Potentially, not potentially, I believe, because I've done it myself, that we absolutely project our beliefs about our worth, around our money, all those kinds of things onto the business. And the business didn't ask for that. And by extension, we're projecting them onto our clients and onto our supervisees, right? I know this to be true as well. Like, so many times I've been speaking to women and they've been like undercharging for their services. And then when we explore the idea of increasing the fee, they have a panic attack because they're like, well, then I'd be charging more than my supervisor. I'm like, well, how much is your supervisor charging? And we go and Google the supervisor's charging $100 for a session. And so now the poor supervisor is like, well, I can't charge more than my supervisor because that's not, and then there are other people who are saying, oh, my supervisor said that I shouldn't be charging, the national average because I'm just new. And I'm like, no, it's all subjective. Like, just because you think something might be expensive or you think something might be cheap, that's your stuff. And does it have a place in how you run your business? Maybe. I would say it's probably better to run a business that's data informed, right? I mean, the only way to know really if something is too expensive, the market will tell you, okay? But this post was really around, buddy, come on, good boy. This post was really around, that I put up was really around people undercharging because they want to get clients, right? So they're seeing it as a business strategy. So they might not put it in their business plan. They probably don't have a business plan, but they're probably not putting it in the, business strategy section of their plan when it comes to getting clients to undercharge. They're not thinking about it that way, but it's what they're doing. They're saying, well, I'm going to undercut everybody. I'm going to undercut my peers, and I'm going to charge a lot less. And I feel good doing that because X, Y, and Z. And this is how I'm going to get fully booked really quickly. But what happens is when you do that, you've got to see a lot more clients. So your volume goes up, because now you need to see if you're charging $80 and the national average is $160. Now if a full-time practice is about 20 hours, you've automatically put yourself into space of needing to work 40, right? Do you see how this all starts leading to burnout? And when you're working with different demographics, there are different opportunities that come along with that, absolutely, but there are also some different challenges that can come along with that. Like there's a lot of data, a lot of research, and even anecdotal. All you've got to do is rock up to one of the chapter meetings for your supervision and you'll hear the horror stories about people who tried to build practices undercharging, and the difficulty that they had with it. Really, really challenging. So anyway, people are saying, look, is having a funnel still relevant? And I say yes. And the reason why is because I think I see it a little bit different to some other marketers. It's very common to work with a marketing coach, for example. I know because I've worked with them. And they want to help you map out your funnel, right? Singular. And some of them do this because they want to get you like the easiest way. That's okay. But what we're seeing now, and I guess it just kind of affirms what I've been sort of recommending the whole time, is that you can't just have one pathway. You've got to have a bunch of pathways. And I've always taught that to my clients. I've always said to them, pathway 1, it's going to be the website. It's going to be having the booking button on the website. Pathway 2, we want to have your Google business profile. Pathway 3, we've got to have your Psychology Today. Pathway 4, we've got to have a freebie. Pathway 5, we've got to have multiple freebies that are all different. And by the way, if your free thing isn't connected to an email opt-in, just get rid of it. It's not helping your business, right? There's a business function behind your freebie. You're wasting your time. And if you've got the opt-in where people are emailing, but they're not getting emails from where people give you their name and their email address, but you're not sending them the marketing emails, again, you're missing out. There's no point. Also, the data is showing there's less interest in ebooks and PDFs because all that information that used to be provided in them is now readily available on ChatGPT, among other things. And so what does work now is anything that's interactive. So if you have free resources, or even if you've got paid resources on your website, on your Etsy, you're trying to create digital income, all of this, you got to get people off their butts doing something. They want to be kinetically doing something, okay? Not reading. No one's printing off your PDF and reading it, okay? What they want, my free things at the moment are quizzes, right? Quizzes that give people information about a topic. What have I got on my website right now? I've got 2. One of them is for manifesting and understanding the manifesting archetype based on my research so for me, my little corner of the world when it comes to manifesting is manifesting using psychological approaches, right? So that's what I specialize in, using psychology to manifest what you want. Sorry, I just had to stop recording because he started to bark. So anyway, I think I was talking about quizzes and so the quizzes that I've got at the moment, I've got one that's for manifesting archetype based on my approach to manifesting. So how I'm different to maybe Abraham Hicks, the Gabby Bernstein, Catherine Zankina, the people, is I believe that you can use psychology tools to manifest. Yes, you can still have, I think, faith, trust, obviously, as you would with any business strategy, right? You got to believe in it. You got to, create space for outcomes. Absolutely. But my big thing is you can use evidence-based tools from psychology to manifest stuff into your business and your life, right? So I created a framework around that. And so I made a quiz that people who are in my world, if they want to take it, they can take it and they can see which kind of archetype, if you like, they may fall into based on their awareness of psychology and manifesting the tools, their experience, their readiness, all that kind of stuff, and gives them a little bit of a report, right? So that's one that I've got, and I've only promoted it once in an email, and it wasn't even a big promotion. It was just like I highlighted the word in an email and linked it to the opt-in form, and I've had like over 100 people like click that link and take the assessment, right? Amazing. Because I know two of those people, like again, just going back to conversion numbers, conversion rates, I know two of those people are going to end up working with me in some way, shape, or form, right? And there'll be others around that I guess either drop off, they're like, not really for me. But there'll be others that are like, okay, what else has she got? Curious, right? Great. The other quiz that I have on my website now is a readiness quiz. So for people who want to work with me, there's now a readiness quiz that they can take, right? To see where they're at in terms of, I want to know, are we on the same page with our values? I want to know, are we on the same page with the goals, with our expectations, with, and so this quiz helps somebody see how ready they are. And more than that, it will qualify them and disqualify them for different options to work with me, right? So if somebody scores in a way that shows that they're not ready, either financially, emotionally, like they're just not resilient, or they're just not going to do the work, or they're going to externalize responsibility for things, or whatever it is, not possibly a great fit at this time. And so they're probably going to get the recommendations in their report to consume the free content, be part of the free communities, all that kind of stuff. And then there's the flip side, which is people who are ready, they're going to get the recommendation and the invitation to, work together and look at what that could look like. And then there's everything in the middle, right? I haven't promoted that one yet. That only just went up. But I'm just letting you know, like, this is what it looks like for me. And then there are other things as well that are interactive that I haven't put up yet that will be going up, like websites and things on the websites and So I know when we've got those kinds of things, they work really well. Other things that work really well that are interactive are mini courses. So I understand, like, it's not uncommon for women in business to feel like the day-to-day is a bit of a grind. It's all getting a bit, challenging, and we're getting tired, and it'd just be great if there was another way, and we want to make some passive income. And I think, the biggest hurdle here is not being aware that it's hard to get it going, right? I think we hear the word passive income and we think easy income. And so when I start working with people, I'm like, yeah, sure, we can set that up for you. And they see everything that's involved. They have a panic attack about it. And they're like, oh, no, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want to do that. And oh, this is hard. And I don't have time. And right, we get all of this. But of course, there's going to be a lot of effort in terms of getting it up at the start. And the other thing with passive income as well is, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I do want to say this, is it's easy once it's set up. The setup can take time. And like anything, like your freebies, like your services that you offer, whether it's, you're selling products in your store, right? Maybe you've got a homeware store and you're selling Laura Ashley cushions over here, and you're selling, the cash crockery and stuff over there, and then you've got your Morgan and Finch linen over there, You're going to start to see what moves and what doesn't, but you're going to have a range of things initially, right? And you will see what sells over time, and then what sells, and you can start to leverage that knowledge and bring in more of what sells and less of what doesn't. But you're going to have to experiment with different products first, right? It's the same with the services that you offer. If you're a woman health professional in business, in your private practice, maybe you're thinking, oh, well, I want to, add to my core offer of counseling, and I now want to also introduce online groups. I want to have a course. I want to have a community. I'm thinking of starting a membership, and I want to do this and I want to do that. Great, do all of those things. Understand getting them up and running is going to be a big investment of time and commitment and energy and money. And you're going to have to be resilient, because there will be lessons and learning and bumps and knocks along the way. And you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be good at bouncing back and not being taken out by it. Like, the worst thing you can do is put your whole business on hold because you're having a meltdown about, not getting results fast enough. Things like that. No. So with the funnels, it's the same. So with your things that you're offering, when it comes to courses, even as recently as maybe 12 or 18 months ago, the whole thing about courses was, oh, you need to give people so much stuff because that's what they're expecting. That's what the market wants. And then that's what the market did want, right? The market was like, well, what am I getting for that money, Brooklyn? What are you going to give me? How many calls am I going to get? How many workbooks will I get? How many resources do I get? It was all about, what do I get, right? And they wanted all of the things. And as somebody who has built loads of online courses and, even like the library for Practice Momentum, if you've not built a course before, when you use software like Kajabi, for example, or I use Thrivecart, as you know, you have a dashboard, right? And you can see all your students who have access to your online courses and products and stuff like that. And you can see who's been using what. And the average completion rate of an online course is 12.8%, right? 12.8%. That's average, which means you're going to have less than that. Now, if you go spending all this time hiring an Airbnb and recording all your content and doing your 1 hour webinar and then making all your workbooks and your worksheet and this, that, it's for what? Like, no one's going to see it. That's what we're seeing now. And it's got nothing to do with you and the quality of what you're putting out, or if everybody loves you or not. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with overwhelm. So, you've probably perhaps felt overwhelmed lately. Over the last 12 months, you probably noticed maybe more overwhelmed than you have before. Potentially, I hear it a lot, but then I'm working with people who are struggling. So that's why I'm hearing it a lot. But, and it's happening because we're trying to balance all of this information overload stuff. And this is why things like the $27 course and the $37 course took off, because they were short, sharp, low cost, low risk ways of people to, it's like a paid freebie, right? It's a paid lead magnet. Somebody's paying for good quality free stuff that they consume quite quickly. That then leads on to the next paid thing, right? Whether that's a consultation with you or a discovery call or the next course or stage 2 or step 17, whatever it is. So when you're making your funnels now, apart from having free things like, I'm just saying, a quiz. You could have other free things, which might be, an online checklist, or it could be an online habit tracker. You might make an app, right? You could do that in Canva. I teach people how to do that. I've got clients who've made them. And it's not hard. Like, you can absolutely do it. It was challenging at the time because, just going back to the apps, it was challenging at the time because I was right on top of it. And straight when I learned how to do it, I wanted to teach the women inside Practice Momentum how to do it as well. And they did that, and they made these apps. Now, it wasn't entirely easy because things were still feeling clunky, and things have become a lot easier now and a lot simplified now. So if they could do it back then, you can absolutely do it now. But I'm just giving you some examples here. And you don't have to go and make a great big course that's got loads of content, because the courses that sell right now are mini courses. So you could have a free or a paid lead magnet for your audience, cold audience or warm audience. Remember, cold is people who are new to you, never heard of you. Warm audience is people who have been aware of you for a little while. But you could have your mini course free or paid, and it might just have 3 little modules with 3 10-minute lessons and maybe one short practical resource. The thing with a course is you got to get out of your own way with it. A lot of the time, like, I don't know, we just say to ourselves, I'm going to go make a course and sell a course, and then I can see less clients. And so we just go and write courses about what's on our heart and what we're passionate about. And then a few things happen. Either clients don't want it, or we don't market it, or we think that letting it sit on the website is the marketing, and it just doesn't sell. But if you remember that your course needs to be short, sharp, sweet, and get a result, like, ask yourself, who am I making it for? What's the problem that they're experiencing? What's the outcome that they're going to get? And here's the hint, like, spoiler alert, the problem should be the question that they've got, and your mini course answers the question, right? Easy, done. And then you just have to figure out how much you're going to pay for it, or how much they're going to pay for it and what it's going to lead to. But it should always be part of a bigger picture, not just stand alone, right? And this is how you build your passive income. But thinking about funnels and marketing funnels, a lot of businesses just used to have one pathway. I've always said have multiple. As I said, if you've worked with me, listen to the podcast, you know that. So the fact that people are coming out now saying, oh, the new way is to have, multiple funnels and multiple pathways is great for me because it's important to me to make sure I'm giving you the right information. So anyway, there's that. So we've spoken about what to do moving forward to get clients for your business. Step 1, make sure that website is good. The most important part of your website is above the fold, also called the hero section. It's the part of the website that the client sees before they start scrolling. That part there must say clearly, specifically, who you are, what you do, who you help, how you help. It's got to be very clear there, because if it's vague and you're saying, I work with women 50 and beyond on their life transitions, like, people are going to click off, means nothing. AI can't reference that, means nothing. So you got to have, the more specific you are, think about coming back to what you want to be the go-to person for. Go now and claim that in the AI land by spreading that message across all of your marketing, whatever marketing you're choosing to do, right? And you don't have to be on loads of platforms. I think I would recommend if you wanted to do like, what's the least amount of marketing I could do and still get clients, I would say have a very well put together website with a booking button. I would say that's if you're in a service-based business. If you're in a product-based business, then you definitely want to be putting something across the top of, again, what it is that's unique about your business and what you do and what people can purchase from you, or their experience, or whatever it is that you want your retail business to be known for. But the other thing that works really well with a retail business is 2 things. Number 1, it's, sign up here to get 10% off your first order. Now you've got their first name and their email address, right? You're building out your list, which is great. And then once they fill out that, they get another pop-up, which is about a text message. And it's like, for another 10% off your first order, pop your phone number here, and receive a text when we have our next VIP sale or something like that. So that's what's working really well for retail right now. So bare minimum website, number one, but make sure it's good and working. Check your analytics in your Google dashboard, look at your Google Search Console, use those numbers to inform what to change and what to do differently. Give your website time to bake. It takes 90 days from after you publish it, right? Once it's published, pretty much hands off, okay? You don't want to be going in making big changes. You can go in and make changes to little things here and there, like maybe your colors or, but don't be changing important things like your H1s and your H2s and stuff like that. Don't. Website number one. Number two, Google Business Profile, service and product-based businesses, and make sure that it's fully optimized, and the optimization is changing all the time. I mean, it was only, I think, 2 months ago that for the women I work with in Practice Momentum, I made them a tool that they could use to go and optimize their, sorry, I'm just going to cough. I'll just hit pause. To optimize their Google Business Profile. Now, they all had access to it, and there were some people that were in the process of improving their marketing and getting more clients. And, they would come to me and they would say, oh, I've done everything, but it's not working yet. So 2 things. Make sure that when you are provided with a process, you use the full process, right? Otherwise, you can't expect to do half of it and get the same result as somebody who's done the whole thing. It's kind of like baking a cake and using half the ingredients and expecting that your result's going to look like the person next to you who used all of the ingredients. So you got to do that. And also just be aware that, as I was saying a moment ago, like I made this tool for them, and it would be about 2 months ago, maybe 3. I think it was more like 2. But even like I gave it to somebody in, like 1 week, and then the next week I gave it to somebody else, and she was coming back to me saying, oh, I can't find this section, and I can't find that section. And then I was going back and I was like, well, just make sure you're using it properly. And she's like, what I am. So then I went in and I just double checked, and sure enough, on the weekend Google had gone and changed how they optimize for Google profiles, and they had removed some of the stuff that they previously had in there, right? So be aware, things change. Just because you might have optimized your Psychology Today profile or your Google profile, 12 months ago, doesn't mean it's still working. It's probably not. And so website number 1, Google Business Profile number 2, they're going to be the big drivers. If you keep posting on that Google Business Profile, you're going to be just fine. So at a minimum, that'd be the things to do. If you wanted to, if you're brand new and people don't know you, like it's different for me. I've been doing this for 30 years. Like you could go into, like, my background, for those of you who don't know, is psychology, counseling and social work. And I'm pretty sure you could go into many of the communities online and say, hey, does anybody know of somebody called Brooklyn? And I think most people are going to say, yes, they do. It's just because I've got history. I've been doing it for so long. But would your clients know who you are? If you went into communities where your clients are spending time and you said, hey, do you know Michelle? Like, what are they going to say? They're probably going to go, who's Michelle? Because you don't have the history yet. So you got to build that up. And the way you build it up is through your touch points. So I would be really doing a lot of touch points. And for this reason, I think for product-based businesses, Instagram's going to be your thing. I think you could do a lot of stories. I think you could have reels that are showcasing products. If you're going to do that though, my guidance here would be user-generated content. Now, you can even use AI to create content that appears user-generated. And there are free ways that you can do that as well. But if you're brand new to the whole thing and it just blows your mind, just pay someone to do it. But anyway, definitely doing that would work for you. But if you're in a service-based business, then I would say Facebook communities, and your touch points are going to be you engaging on other people's posts, not you on your business page saying what you got for sale or your availability or your program or your course, or no one's seen it, no one's interested, no one really cares. They don't know you, right? So yeah, what you want to do to build up your touch points is be seen in communities and recognized as knowing what you're talking about, being helpful, knowing your stuff, right? We want to build your reputation as the go-to person. So less about posting on your page, more about you being in the right places with the right people, not sharing links to your website or anything like that. You just building a reputation for you being known, okay? That's the thing. So yeah, they'll be sort of bare minimum. For those of you who want to future-proof your practice, understand that short form content is short form because it is quick to consume, but it doesn't last long. If you publish a story, for example, on your Facebook profile or your Instagram profile, it's ephemeral, right? It disappears after 24 hours, never to be seen again. So it's vanishing content. And also that content gets hidden, right? In chronological order. And in order for it to surface again, somebody actually has to go to the trouble of clicking on your profile and then clicking on your grid on Instagram, I'm thinking, and, click through stuff. And not many people do that when we look at the data. Like, it's less than 1% of people do that. So yeah, I would say your 50 touch points are good if you're in a position where you need sales quickly and where you need to get known quickly and where you need bookings quickly. When you're connecting with people in Facebook groups, let them come to you and ask you about working with you. On Facebook, though, on your business page or on your personal profile, share stories, not always pushing what you've got, sometimes behind the scenes. I mean, I know after trial and error, it's a lot of trial and error, but I know with my audience, what works best with them, and you guys are my audience, it's when I'm just sharing an image of who, the one sitting next to me, out and about on a walk in the country. And, it's a quick selfie or it's a pet selfie or something like that, and I've got like just a little sentence about the day or a realization that I had or how I'm feeling in the moment or something like that. And then in there I can also add a link to something, right? That works better every time than if I say, hey, come and sign up for Practice Momentum, right? Who cares? People aren't going to sign up for Practice Momentum. People don't want your thing. They want your knowledge. They want your insight as it relates to them. Okay? So don't be selling the things. It's really, this is where that rapport and connection. But to future-proof the business, it's going to be long-form content all the way because it compounds. So it will never go backwards. When you post on socials, for example, it gets lost, right? And it may grow over time, but it's going to be a very slow rate. Especially if you do things like you pause your posting or you delete your account, you deactivate your account, things like that. Your website, you're probably going to update it 1,000,000 times, which means you'll be deleting copy that was really working. You'll be deleting the blog posts that people love to read, and you'll be starting from scratch again. So I believe the best way to future-proof your practice when it comes to content creation is through long-form content like audio, maybe it's podcasts like this, or through YouTube, because it compounds. And all you need is one person to really resonate, find so much value in what you're talking about or what you're sharing. That person then shares it to their audience, right? And this is how you grow. So this is what happened to me. I was going to say early on in my podcast, but it wasn't. So I don't know. I want to check something because I want to tell you honestly, like when I started my podcast. 1 second. Podbean. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to like type around my microphone. Here we go. I'm just logging into my Podbean account so that I can see when I created the account or when my when did I start? What have we got here? We've got over 650 episodes now. So it's been a while, right? I'm just clicking through the little menu at the bottom to see when I started. Oh my gosh, it's pages of episodes, you guys. Oh, where am I? Oh my goodness me. I don't want to edit that. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, I'm still clicking through all the pages at the bottom. I'm up to like page 25. Here we go. Yeah, 683 entries is how many, but I just want to see when it started. Season 1, October 10, 2018. Wasn't that cute? I called it Season 1, Episode 1, 2018. Now, we're in 2006. Let's just imagine it's October. So what's that? 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years I've had this podcast. Now, if I just look at my metrics, they're not fantastic. It wasn't until, when was it? I'm not going to bore you with the details because it'll take me so long to find this. But I think it was like, I don't know, 18 months or 2 years in. It's like all my numbers are like 30 people listened to your podcast, 52 people listened, 70 people listened, 11 people listened. But I kept going and I was doing it twice a week. So it was like high volume. And then what ended up happening was, I think it was like 18 months, 2 years in, somebody heard an episode and they shared it and then other people shared it. And overnight, my downloads and everything blew up. So amazing. And that's what I'm saying, like, don't expect fast results from your long form content. It takes time, but it compounds. And now what happens is people will come and they'll start listening to the podcast and then they scroll through, the back catalogue, so to speak, looking for something else to listen to, right? That might be interesting. And so they click on that. And so that's what I mean. Like, this compounds, this builds, and people listen to this and they listen to it for ages and then they come and work with me. So I know now that a podcast that I do today results in a client 12 months from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. That's in my head. I know that. From time to time, yes, there's going to be someone like last week that hears something, it lands for them, boom, they're ready to go. But more often than not, it's a slow burn, right? So understand that could be the same for your long form content as well, but it's how you build awareness over time of your business. And every single time you publish something like a podcast or your YouTube, it also tells the AI, here's even more proof she's credible. Here's even more proof she's the go-to person. Here's even more proof she knows what she's talking about. She's got a back catalogue of over 600 episodes talking about business and manifestation, right? It's how you establish your authority. Things take time. When you go and open your store selling your candles or your real estate agency or your hairdressing salon or your private practice, people don't tell you this, but it's very, very relevant now in 2026. So again, probably a quicker way to get some clients from long form content is going to be so long form only needs to be 15 minutes, right? So it doesn't have to be hours, like I will just talk for hours because I'm a talker. But your long form content only needs to be 15 minutes. So it's not really that long. But the way to get it converting would be publish a few pieces of it every week while you're just new to business to get known, right? And the other thing that works really well right now, August 2026, and I'm not doing it yet, but I will be. And I don't know if I'm going to do it myself or if I'll get AI to do it or if I'll hire someone to do it. I haven't decided yet. But the other thing that works really well in terms of conversions, so getting people to buy from you or work with you or sign up to your things, like whatever it is that you want them to do, is including a resource that's useful. So no fluff, no generic AI slop, crappy content. It needs to be something that's really, really useful for people. So much so that they feel like they would have paid for it useful. Okay. So for me, it's going to be like all kinds of different things because, as I say to you, you have to test, right? Like when you're creating your passive income, there are so many things you could do. Like if I think about my Etsy store, I sell Claude skills, I sell GPTs that people can use, for their business in ChatGPT. I sell templates in Google Docs. I sell done for you things. I sell custom things. Like I've got a whole range of things on there. And all I have to do is go into my dashboard and I can see what sells and what doesn't. And that gives me insight as to what my audience really wants. And then I can use that information to make more, which leads to more sales, which leads to better revenue, which leads to less clients for me to work with, right? Which is my goal because I'm all about spaciousness and managing my time. But you have to try a few different things, and it's no different with your long form content. So for that reason, what I'm going to be doing is maybe sometimes it will be a guide, maybe sometimes it'll be a little website, maybe sometimes it'll be another short audio, maybe sometimes it might be a mini course, but it's going to be something, or it might be a quiz, but it's going to be something free and practical and interactive and useful for the person that took the time to listen or start listening before they clicked out because it got boring or repetitive or tangential, all of those kinds of things, right? So I want to be doing that. And that is audience growth for 2026. So you're probably sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to take me for ages. And every time I make some piece of content now, if I do 3 pieces of 15-minute content, that's 3 free things that I've got to set up and I've got to have email behind that and it's all just getting too big and I just want to see clients or I just want to sell my candles. It's like, too bad, so sad. This is just the reality of it. And the sooner you can wrap your head around it, the better. I think the way I'm going to approach it is, again, just through my own lens of how can I do this quickly and easily without it like gobbling up time I don't want to give it, is I'm just going to make for myself templates just so my whole content creation is quicker. I'll make myself a template for a quiz so I can just go in and update it and repurpose it. I'll make myself a template for whatever else it is that my mini course or my checklist or something like that. And I will just, use that template every now and again to make the thing. I will keep I'm just going to templatize my opt-in form. I'm just going to have one email nurture sequence, not one for each free thing anymore. I'm just going to really simplify it. And the good thing is when you do this for your long-term content, what ends up happening is it stays there. And again, it compounds. So people who find your podcast and they get the free thing in the show notes first time, like, oh my gosh, this was so good. Then they're going to go back into the podcast and they're going to scroll down to the previous episode and see what free thing was there. And they're going to be gobbling up all of the free things. That's what I want, right? And that's what the guidance is right now. I think make it really easy for yourself. It doesn't have to be hard, but you have to get onto it. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was, I guess, around, I found myself having a bit of a, lump in the throat moment yesterday. Like I just kind of physically seized. I was at the hairdresser. Again, like totally different topic now. Come with me. So I was at the hairdresser. It was so exciting. And yeah, we were talking, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, so what do you do for work?" And I just felt like it was so hard for me to say, "Well, I'm a business mentor for women in business, and I teach them how to use, proven strategies in psychology to manifest their results, their outcomes, and they can use these tools and strategies to manifest things in their business or their life," right? I was tripping over myself. I felt clunky with it. I felt like embarrassed by it. There's something obviously still going on there. So anyway, I need to dig a little bit deeper. I know what it is. It's what happened years ago when I first started talking about it, which is a whole other conversation. But I just got pushback from other psychologists at the time. I was a psychologist, started talking about it. There was pushback, a bit of bullying, all of that. And then I dialed it down. But I still kept manifesting for myself in my private life. I just stopped talking about it publicly because I was ridiculed and shamed for it. But recently, having used manifestation tools and be where I am now, I just and maybe it's because I'm over 50 now, I'm just like, do you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I know people are interested in it, but I think there's still maybe part of me that's concerned around, it needs to be defensible or something. And I really don't want to be in that space. I think I just need to figure out there's a clunkiness going on for me somewhere around it. But I will figure it out. But anyway, one of the things that came up when I was talking to my beautiful hairdresser was she was saying to me, I used to love manifesting, but, the whole positive thinking thing didn't work for me. And I thought, yeah, she's got a point, because I've been researching so much into manifesting lately because I was in the proving energy while I was doing my pivot, right? Because I was anticipating, I wanted to be prepared for the big attacks. And so I was looking at what are people likely to criticize about it, and what does the research say? What does today's research say? What do I agree with? What don't I agree with? All of this. So she's talking about positive thinking. And I was like, yeah, she's got a point, because, in the therapy world, we talk a lot about toxic positivity, right? Oh, it's so bad, so bad, so bad. We talk about, positive thinking is just so bad, so terrible. And so anyway, I came home and I was having a look, and I was like, let's just go right back to basics here, and let's just look at a definition of positive thinking. And get this, there isn't an agreed upon definition of positive thinking. And I checked everywhere. I've checked the literature in the university library with the journals and stuff like that. I've checked publicly available sources online, including the Mayo Clinic and stuff like that. And the research actually says, look, we just don't have an agreed upon definition, which means that the research on positive thinking has to be understood within that context, that we might all be using variations of a collective understanding of what we all think maybe it might be when we're measuring its effectiveness and the things that impact the effectiveness of it, right? But so there was that, very interesting. Number two, I was all prepared to see all the criticism about how positive thinking is BS and it's this and it's that, but blow me down, opposite. So there is so much research, Journal of Psychology, Journal of Personality and Psychology, publicly available research that you can go and have a look at. And by and large, it's all saying positive thinking, beneficial. We should all be doing it, which got me interested then, because I was thinking, Okay. So why is it got such a bad name? When the research is saying things like, let me just share some of my notes here. Yeah, what have I written? Findings overall pretty good. They were saying that some of the benefits are that when we think positive, right? So positive thinking, depending on where you go, generally most of the definitions kind of overlap. They say it's expecting something to work out for you. It's expecting a good outcome. It's seeing things in a positive light. It's when you have an obstacle or a challenge, that approaching the challenge through a lens of positive thought can lead to you being more creative and coming up with innovative solutions for solving problems, like all of this, which I hadn't expected. But anyway, that's what the research is saying consistently. Very interesting. A lot of the research was also saying, by and large, that, the main benefit of thinking positively is that it has a important impact on the brain in terms of brain chemistry, right? So it reduces things like stress hormones, but it also increases the production of neurotransmitters that make you feel good, like serotonin and dopamine, right? And that's really important because those things can help foster things like emotional regulation and, again, like foster resilience and all those kinds of things. So good, 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 good. Okay, so what's all the news about why it's bad to think positively when it comes to trying to manifest something? Well, there wasn't so much evidence on that, other than colloquially, like in pop culture, there's a lot of talk about toxic positivity. And while there isn't much research behind the idea of toxic positivity, it's something that's definitely in the vernacular, that's definitely spoken about in all different kinds of communities. And the thing about the toxic positivity is that there's an idea around it that if you just think positive, that you're going to get a good outcome. And that alone results in victim blaming, which is problematic, and that it's delusional and, all of the things. So, what do I think in terms of the role of positive thinking in manifesting? I think positive thinking and optimistic thinking will work better for you than being a pessimist and expecting nothing's going to work and what's the point and da 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 da. I think a self-fulfilling prophecy is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you have an expectation of something working out in your favor, I think that you create more easily the conditions to do the things and be the person that implements the guidance or whatever it is that gets that positive result. I think that you can absolutely leverage positive thinking, and it doesn't work on its own though, right? So I don't think that you can sit on your couch and you can manifest a Louis Vuitton handbag just by positive thinking about it. I don't. I think the positive thinking is one of a number of ingredients that you're going to use to call into your personal or professional life the result that you want, the thing that you want, the outcome that's important to you at that point. And I think that the positive thinking is perhaps part of the personal psychology that influences your ability to get an outcome. So I feel everything that we're manifesting, intentionally or not, begins with our identity, how we, our self-perception, how we see ourselves, all that. From there, I think that identity influences our personal psychology. Things like self-sabotage, self-efficacy, locus of control. A locus of control, just means if you think you can influence things or if you think you're at the mercy of things. It's you being at cause, like you being responsible for your results, or you being the victim of life's circumstances and everything's sort of beyond your control. Like those kinds of things are just some examples of your personal psychology. Your resilience is part of your personal psychology. All those kinds of things, I think, are informed by your identity. And then that personal psychology, being informed by your identity, then influences and informs the actions and behaviors that you're likely to take, right? I don't think it's possible for you to do something if your personal psychology and your identity aren't on board with it. And I think when you feel conflicted, when you feel stuck, I think what's happening there is you've asked for a strategy, you've asked for the how, somebody's given you the how, but there's an issue going on with the identity, which is influencing your personal psychology, which is now causing you to feel stuck. There's incongruence. So for example, if you said to me, what's the quickest way to make more money in my business? What's the quickest way for me to get an extra $1,000 in my private practice this month? And I say to you, raise your fees by $10 a session, right? That's the strategy, right? That strategy works, but it's not going to work if you don't see yourself as somebody that, runs a business, you don't have a business mindset, those kinds of things. If we've got, if you see yourself as the type of person that, cares about others, doesn't rip people off, you've got your stories, right? Those are all going to lead to your personal psychology, right? Of self-sabotage, maybe, things like that. And then here you are, you've been given a strategy that we know works, but you're feeling stuck because it conflicts with how you see yourself in your personal psychology. So you're going to do it? Probably not. What you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to say, I need another strategy, right? Which you don't need another strategy at all. You need to go back to the start and dig around in the identity and figure out what on earth's going on there, because I've seen it happen. I've given people so many strategies and they still haven't budged, and they don't want to acknowledge that there's something going on around, I'm saying imposter syndrome and, self-efficacy, locus of control, resilience. They're just some of the more common ones for the clients that I tend to work with. But the women who let's say, I was thinking about cancellation fees, but I don't want to start a whole new thing. But let's say it's the raising your fee by $10 or something. The women that do that, they're already in the identity of either they're becoming a businesswoman or they're starting to see themselves as somebody who is both a kind, compassionate, caring practitioner and smart businesswoman, right? That's their identity, which informs their personal psychology, which is, I know how to take risks. I know how to make informed decisions from my data. I'm someone who does this, who does that, right? And they have higher locus of control. They feel like things are within their scope of influence, that they can affect change in their business or their personal life, whatever. And then they take the action that naturally and logically follows on for that, which is raising their fees. And then guess what? Hey, presto, we've manifested $1,000 at the end of the month, right? So positive thinking just comes into the personal psychology aspect. And you could call it positive thinking. You may look at perhaps optimism, which I think is looking at a situation saying, well, okay, this is what we're dealing with here. How do we make the best of this? What are we not seeing? What could the opportunities for the business be here? That kind of stuff. Very, very important. And you've heard as well, like how just a simple shift in your personal psychology can create changes in your behavior. When I was talking to you about like a few weeks ago, when I had to assemble the footstool, right? And I just decided that no, I'm now the woman that can do this, right? That just rolls up her sleeve and she gets on with it. I've just decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to make myself available to be able to do it. That shifted my personal psychology, because then I just came up with this mantra of this is going to be easier than I think, right? So I created a supportive mantra for myself, and then I repeated that mantra while I was putting the flat pack furniture together. And guess what? It really was. My experience was that it was easy for me to do. And then that gave me the confidence to try again with something more complicated, which was my new office chair. And then that gave me the confidence to do it again for something that was even more complicated, which was my 3-seater sofa. So I see how this works. And if I didn't have something in my personal psychology that was telling me, not telling me, but as I said, my mantra was this is going to be easier than I thought, and this is easier than I thought, and wow, that was easier than I imagined. I knew that if I went into it with that, I was open, okay? If I saw myself as, oh my gosh, this is hard, I'm going to have to hire a handyman to come and do this for me, and da-da-da-da-da, or if I had the identity of somebody who finds it hard, who can't do it, who messes it up, because that's what my history says, right? Because believe me, I've got a history of having screws left over and, Allen keys floating around, and who hasn't, right? We've all been there. But if I allowed myself to stay in that identity, then my personal psychology would have been, I've got to outsource this. I can't, right? I will mess this up. And if I pushed on and I tried to do it, I would be so in my head with all the reasons why I couldn't do it that I would probably misread the instruction, misunderstand something, skip a step, and it probably wouldn't have worked out. So I think positive thinking, when it comes to manifestation, the research is clear. Positive thinking, good. The research is not so clear around toxic positivity. As I said, that seems to be more social, cultural stuff than a lot of evidence behind it. I think the evidence behind it is when we're only focusing on that at the exclusion of other things, and we're only looking at that in isolation. So and when it comes to using it for manifesting, big mistake to just think positively. You will not do anything if you're just thinking positively. You need to bring all of these things together. And that's what I believe in my experience, what I've seen with my clients, what I've seen in my personal life, what I've seen in my business life. And that's why I am so passionate about it. So anyway, I think, yes, positive thinking, good. Toxic positivity, no. Use positive thinking in conjunction with other processes around your manifestation if you're serious about getting results. Okay, that's it. I will let you go. I think I've got a client in 3 minutes, so I've got to get organized. But I've got everything ready. Organized means go to the loo, get a drink of water, and turn the heater on. But anyway, I hope that this was helpful, interesting, insightful, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.